This is Charlie Crockett, Texas musician and descendant of Davy Crockett, inviting you to visit the Alamo. It's not the same Alamo you, remember. There's lots of new things to experience, like the 500 artifacts inside the Alamo exhibit at the Ralston Family Collection Center, the new Mission Gate and Lunette outdoor exhibit, and Surrounded, the Alamo Augmented Experience. It's all part of an ongoing restoration and expansion that will write the Alamo's next chapter. So don't wait. Plan your visit today at thealamo.org.
Stories bigger than Texas, the Alamo podcast. It is National Police Week in the United States, and this year, the Alamo Rangers mark 50 years as the official security force of the Shrine of Texas Liberty, a role steeped in responsibility of protecting the Alamo Church in Long Barrack, the original mission's 2 surviving structures, along with priceless artifacts and the millions of people who visit the historic site. Today, we reveal the history of the Alamo Rangers, how the force has evolved over the decades, and the front row seat to history the Rangers have as both guards and ambassadors of the Alamo. I'm your host, Emily Balcom. We'll begin by learning a bit about the history of the Alamo Rangers from Ernesto Rodriguez, the Alamo's senior historian. Ernesto, how is the site protected in its early years as the Shrine of Texas Liberty?
In the early years, they had a caretaker that would make sure that everything was working out the way it's supposed to, and this person was basically on call. He was also did maintenance work and gardening, so that was early on in the history of our site with the Daughters of the Republic of Texas.
Then in 1975, the Alamo Rangers were formed, an actual security force.
Yes, they started with the hiring of Chief Oates. And when he came on board, he was in charge of the grounds, and then he started shifting over to more security role, and then they became the Alamo Rangers that we know today.
The Rangers made history with an early hire. Tell us about that.
They hired a person by the name of Peggy Potts, and she was the first female and the first African-American ranger on the premises, and I was privileged enough to work with her until she retired in 2004, and she would always joke about a tree that we used to have in front, and they would say, "You can't stand underneath that tree." And she said, "I'm not standing underneath the tree. The tree grew around me."
Ooh, I like that response. As the Rangers celebrate 50 years, you've been here for more than 25 of them, so you've seen the force grow and change with the times, with technology.
Yes, I have. We've gone from being just a small group to actually having, dozens of Rangers on duty 24/7, and it's been a privilege to be able to work with them. They are very excited about not only being the protectors of the Shrine of Texas Liberty, but they're also excited about the history. And when people come to the Alamo, a lot of times the first line that they see is the Rangers. And so it's always good to have people that are enthusiastic not only about their job, but about the history to greet our guests as they come. It's always fun because I get to interact with them. And at the same time, I know that if I'm on the grounds, they're always watching out for me.
Now let's bring in the current chief of the Alamo Rangers, Gerald Ramirez. Chief, you're here at a time when the site's footprint is growing, but the responsibility remains the same. Protect the Shrine of Texas Liberty and its artifacts and keep our visitors safe.
Absolutely. I've been here for a total of about 6 months. And so in that time, I've seen it grow even in that short span quite considerably. Our team also, too, has grown, and the responsibilities that encompasses is pretty tall task, but we have the right group of Alamo Rangers. We have a solid team of professionals that know the responsibilities. They know what's at stake if they don't complete their tasks and responsibilities. So it's a good position overall.
A notable thing that's happened in your first 6 months, we opened Plaza de Valero, and so that really gave you more territory to cover.
Absolutely. So that's part of the expansion I'm talking about. It was quite considerable space that opened up. And so with that space came a new approach to our responsibilities in covering more real estate. And then with that real estate, more visitors, more guests, more field trips, schools and things like that. And then also 2 performances in the pavilion.
And this is a 24/7 job, 365 days a year, in the heat and the cold, on holidays, in the middle of the night, you name it.
No matter what, these guys are out there doing the job, definitely serving the city, serving the Alamo, and serving the state. Rain or shine, no matter what.
Because the Alamo is in the downtown of a major city, you work closely with our friends at other law enforcement agencies, like the San Antonio Police Department and the Bexar County Sheriff's Office.
Correct. And so those are just a couple to name a few. we've developed a pretty good relationship with SAPD, especially their bike patrol. Those guys come around, they interact with not only our Rangers on foot, but also our bike patrol officers. Definitely reached out to Texas DPS and had their guys come down and take a look at an assessment of the property and also assist with us when we have bigger events. Most notably, the last two that we've had recently were Saddle Up and then the final four that went over the better part of a whole entire
Plus
week.
Fiesta, big citywide events
Correct.
like that.
Yeah. So all these events require that relationship with those law enforcement entities. Bear County Sheriff's Office, they're also rolled into that. They're involved in that too. And then some of the other groups that aren't law enforcement, Centro's another one that comes around a lot, and they help out with different aspects of the property as well.
Chief, with you today are two Rangers, Sergeant Xavier Flores and Sergeant Daniel Ramirez. What a cool job you have. But I know from working with both of you out on the grounds, you take it very, very seriously.
Oh, absolutely. You know, it's not everyone that can say that they guard the Alamo. It's considered the shrine of Texas liberty. Personally, I feel if not for the Battle of the Alamo, Texas wouldn't have been here. So we have a very, very important responsibility to keep it safe for our guests, keep our guests safe, our employees. We want every generation of Texans to come over here, have a safe, great experience, and come back and bring their families, bring their friends, so it continues.
But yeah, as he said, just to piggyback off, it's a great honor. We're both from Corpus Christi area, so we kind of have that in common. And he was actually one of the first Rangers that I actually really clicked with. We were on the same shift and all that. So it made the transition to this job a lot easier. But just in general, just guarding the shrine of Texas liberty and being able to stand there out there at night when nothing's going on, just looking at it and just your mind just wandering on what really happened here. It's just to me, it's one of the wildest things in the world.
It never gets old.
No, not at all.
So as Chief mentioned, each day is wildly different. These are just a few examples from the past year. We've had the Lieutenant Governor on site. We've had almost every single living Congressional Medal of Honor winner here for their annual memorial service. We've had the Budweiser Clydesdales. We've had ESPN's College Game Day. But no matter what, the mission is the same.
That's 100% correct. We love when all the big name people come and, we're just like everyone else at the end of the day. When we see someone famous, we're like, oh, who is that? What's going on? But sometimes they just show up in the middle of the night and we have no idea what's going on. And it'll be someone from Congress or the House of Representatives or the Senate, and they want a tour. So it's like you said, it's always something different, never the same. And that's why, as Chief said, we have a job to do. And no matter what time of the day or what's going on or who it is, the mission is always protecting the Alamo, its properties, and its guests.
No, absolutely. You got to stay vigilant. You got to be on top of it because you never know. You always hope for the best, but you prepare for the worst as well. But Sergeant Ramirez is absolutely right. I've been out in front of the shrine at 1 a.m. and Kevin Hart will show up. Like, holy cow, and you don't want to get starstruck because you're trying to hold a demeanor. But it's Kevin Hart, who would have thought this guy would just show up in the middle of San Antonio, passing through, doing a show in Dallas, so I'd stop by and see what this is about. And everyone I've met, and I've met some great celebrities, some great congressmen. When the Medal of Honor winners, it was so humbling because these men made an incredible sacrifice for our country. Just meeting those people, it humbles you, kind of gives you a better respect for what you're doing because they're looking at you and like, man, you have such a cool job. Thank you for being here. And these are people that I admire, and they're thanking me for doing what I do. It's like the best gift in the world.
In addition to security, I like to think of the Rangers as ambassadors, visitors who come after hours. They ask you about the history, and many of them, especially the kids, like to take photos with you in your uniforms and cowboy hats. What's that like?
It's I'm not one for like selfies or pictures or anything like that. I post minimally on my social media stuff, but it is cool. I mean, I see the way kids stare at us when they walk by. Their eyes are just wide open, and they're like, wow. Look at this guy. Who is he? What does he do? And, I'll hear the parents off to the side. Oh, he protects the Alamo. Something along those lines. And I remember when I was a kid, it's one of my first memories, actually. I saw a police officer. I don't remember where I was or what I was doing, but I just remember looking at him and being like, wow, that's pretty cool. And so I think ever since then, I understand what that kid is feeling when they look at us that way because I remember feeling that way as a child. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, totally. And it's important to be a good ambassador because you want, especially the kids, like, God forbid, something ever happens and they're in trouble, they want to know, hey, I can go to that guy. He's a good guy. He can help me. I know the Ranger can help me because he's here to make me safe and get me back. And we've had instances, where children have gone missing. on the grounds, and we've, acted quickly and reunited. And it's just a good feeling, when you see that parent come, oh my God, thank you so much. Or when the kids are kind of looking at you and they're like, I don't know if I should say hi or not because you're kind of intimidating, but you like kind of call them over, give them a fist bump. And then next thing you know, you're taking pictures or trying to put on your hat. It's so much fun. I just love interacting with the kids.
I'd love for each of you, all three of you, to share a special moment that stands out for you from your time here.
The opportunity that I get to be alone with thoughts and things like that, to enjoy the position that I'm in, where my feet are. There's always something to do. I know these two sergeants here mentioned just a handful of things that they've encountered during their tour duty while they're on shift and stuff. So there's just so many other things that go along with what we do behind the scenes and up front. With that being said, I know I've caught myself kind of thinking and wondering the same thing that Sergeant Ramirez mentioned about what really took place. The one thing that does stick out to me that always interests me is when I see the archaeologists digging. When I see that happening, I'm kind of like, man, at any second something could pop out of there, and they're gonna. It could be like, earth-shattering important, or it could be something that they've seen many, many times before. And so without being too much of a pest, I'll walk over and I'll say, hey, what have you found? Have you seen anything? And they'll say, oh, this, that, and the other. And so it's pretty neat to see that.
For me, it's kind of off the box, but I collect movie props, and I know one of the groups I was in on Facebook was I bought some Alamo costumes from John Wayne's movie. So I was putting them online and showing them. And some guy reached out to me and was like, I have John Wayne's coonskin cap from the 1960 film. And he sent me pictures, and I was like, man, that's really cool. And he says, well, the Alamo has the other one. There was 3 known to exist. I have one, Alamo has one, and the other burned in a fire. And I was like, okay. Didn't tell him I worked here or anything like that. Just said, okay. So when I saw Ernesto about April, I was like, hey, my birthday's in October, and there's one thing I want for my birthday. Well, what's that? And I was like, I want to see John Wayne's cap. Like, you got to show it to me. Every few weeks I would see him and remind him, like, hey, my birthday's in October. My birthday's in October.
So you wanted to go into the vault.
Yeah, yes. Essentially, I want to go in the vault. And on my birthday, I actually completely forgot that I had even asked him, and someone wished me happy birthday. And then I heard Ernesto behind me, and he was like, oh, today's your birthday? Meet me in the vault in 10 minutes. And I was like, this is it. Like, I'm going to see his cap. And sure enough, I walked in there, and he showed it to me. And it was just one of the coolest things that I can never thank him enough for that. So.
That's awesome.
Man, that's a great story. Not many people can say that, right? So for me, I think it would just be the connections with the guest. And just to piggyback on something Chief said, our area has really expanded and grown, but we can't do what we do without good relationships with our other Alamo ambassadors, guest experience, maintenance, housekeeping. These guys are eyes when we can't be eyes. So I'm so thankful that we have a team that communicates well among each other. That really helps out a lot. Going back, so I guess one of my favorite moments would be I met a young man about 2 years ago. He was here with his family visiting from the Washington State area. And kid was great. He asked intelligent questions. He was so just enamored by the Alamo. He loved it. And we became pen pals. We're still writing letters, back and forth to this day. He'll send me a care package, like things specific to him, and I'll send him like a bottle of barbecue sauce or something. So, Darwin, if you're listening to this, hope you're doing well. Stay in school, listen to your parents, and we'll see you next time you come up.
So cool. You truly have a front row to history. And I know Sergeant Ramirez and Sergeant Flores, you had the opportunity to protect the Travis letter when it returned last year, for just the second time since it left Travis's hands in 1836. What was that like?
For me, as a big fan of the film and the whole Alamo stigma, I remember standing by the letter and being like, this is why we're here. If you read the last lines of the letter, it says victory or death. And I was like, these guys paid the price. Like, this letter is literally why we're here. They died here. Now we're here to make sure their memory lives on, and where they fought and gave their life is protected, and for future generations. So to me, and not only that, the doors that it was written behind were in the collection center, as well as I believe the receipt from the oxen or the cattle that he talks about.
In the PS.
Yes, was in there too. So I was like, this is the first time in 89 or 188 years that it had been together since the battle. So I was just so blown away and taken back by that I don't know if I could ever achieve that level of like, wow, again, because it was just crazy.
It was awesome to see. It's something that very few people in their lifetime will get to see. And I was just so lucky to be here at that time. Like Sergeant Ramirez said, it's only maybe the second time in over 180 years that it's been here. I mean, that's just mind blowing that it's still here. And you can still read the letter yourself, and see where it says victory or death on the underline. Like, it's just humbling, exciting. And I'll tell you what, we were all in our A game because God forbid anything happened to that letter. It was just a great honor and a privilege. I loved it.
And you guys got to be alone in the room with it because we guarded it 24/7 the entire time it was here.
That's
there were
right.
eyes on it the entire time.
You have to be within 6 feet of it at all times as well. You can't be any further away from it than that. So that was different too. I was just like, okay, don't basically you can walk around like a little box, but that's it. So that was really interesting.
You guys have all touched on this in your own ways, but I'd love to end with this. Even with how busy the Alamo can get, there are definitely some quieter moments. So what do you think about when it's just you and the church out there and you get some time to be alone in your own thoughts?
And for me, it's just how lucky am I? I'm here. I'm at one of the most world famous historical sites, right? People come here from all over just to see the church and take a picture in front of it. And here I am, just me, the church, and maybe a bird up in a tree, and that's it. So when you have that time to kind of reflect, you count your blessings. You're happy where you're at, and you shouldn't forget that.
I think with me the other night, it was just really weird. I was standing by the palisade and it was kind of late, and I turned around and it was just me in the shrine. And I was just kind of taken back. I've been taken back by it before, but not like this. And I was just kind of looked at it, and being by the palisade, I know that's where Crockett fought and all that. And I was just like, man, I guess at the end of the day is what I think about is like, what happened? Like, we know a certain percent, but how much do we really know? But even when I'm walking sometimes to the back, I'll be like, what happened here? What was here? I think it's just you play so many scenarios in your head. And I think that's what makes it so, why I fall in love with it, because so many things could have happened. Maybe we'll never know. We're chasing that dream that we're never going to find the answer to. But to me, I just remember like turning around and looking at the shrine and just be like, wow. And as Xavier Flores says, it's just an honor to be out there by yourself sometimes. And it's just you and the shrine at Texas Liberty. Wow, it's just the only way I can explain it. It really is breathtaking.
Chief, I agree. As you all know, my office is a little bit away from the site. So I like to walk around a couple of times a day to get up from my desk, and it helps me to go get perspective, to be out there and remember this is why you're working away so hard in the edit bay in the office.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you sometimes you lose track of the day, right? But I think we can all probably agree in our own personal experiences. We've probably been to a good handful of places that stuck out to all of us for our own reasons, right? But if you get the chance to take a deeper dive and understand, like Sergeant Ramirez said, what really happened here, or put yourself in a situation that everybody knows about history and take a minute to wonder about that. And in this case, it's a little different because this is where we work. This is where our feet come every single day. And so it's real easy to take a minute to wonder what really happened, right? Maybe what happened before the battle. What was it on a day-to-day to be a fly on the wall and listen to a conversation that might have taken place, right, inside those walls. And where our feet are, where others that are significant in history for their own different reasons. But what a feeling that is to know that this is where I come to do my work every single day. And so definitely a blessing and awesome feeling, and it's just incredible to think about.
Thank you to all our guests today, Ernesto Rodriguez, Chief Gerald Ramirez, Sergeant Xavier Flores, and Sergeant Daniel Ramirez. Thank you for keeping us safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be sure to check out the podcast notes. The Alamo Rangers do have job openings from time to time. So in case you know of anyone interested in joining the ranks, we've linked to the Join the Team section of our website so you can watch for those openings. You've been listening to Stories Bigger Than Texas, the Alamo Podcast.